not a senator. So they were going to work walking the steps of the Capitol building, and Ted Yoho had some choice words for AOC and then called her a bitch. And I don't know why this dumbass said this, because you know that either someone's going to see it, video it, or they're going to back her up if they were out there and they heard it. You know, so Ted Yoho, I don't even remember what the whole conversation that they had, but pretty much he yelled at her and called her a bitch. For whatever reasons, I'm not sure. I'm sure he's just a jackass who doesn't like her because she's intelligent. She has the nerve. She's educated. Again, what right does she have in getting an education and running for Congress? She ran for representative and won, and now she's a congresswoman. But apparently Ted Yoho doesn't appreciate that. So I don't know what's going to happen to Mr. Yoho, but I think it was a no to call the AOC a bitch and whatever else you said to her, some dumb shit, I'm presume. We'll keep an eye on that situation and see if anything comes of it, because he didn't apologize or anything like that. Usually, this being the politically correct society that it is, whenever someone these days will say something and get called out on it in the media, they will immediately apologize the next day after it's hit the media. It's been several days for Ted Yoho, and I have not seen him go on TV and make any apology or say anything. Yet. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this last week when I done the show. I think I did mention it, but the Republican National Convention has been canceled by the president. It was going to be held in Orlando, I do believe. And it's been canceled. It was going to be held in North Carolina at first. It was scheduled to be in North Carolina, but I think the governor of North Carolina wanted a mask to be worn or something, and the president didn't agree. He didn't want that, so he wanted to move it to Florida, where his buddy Ron DeSantis, the jackass who is the governor of Florida, because he said a lot of stupid things about the coronavirus and how no big deal. We're going to get past this. We don't need to shut down anything. We don't need to wear a mask. Okay, it's a hoax. A lot of things that are based in ignorance and stupidity. And turns out that Florida was just their numbers were for infected were off the chain. Hospitals are full in Florida with coronavirus victims. But the National Republican National Convention was going to be held in Orlando, and now it's been canceled. Here's the weird thing. uh, the, the the convention was canceled, but the president still thinks that it's okay for the kids to go to school, which we will talk about right after this break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
You're listening to a man who's so sexy it's completely ridiculous. Mr. Anthony Scott Dover. Yummy.
All right. Now, we're back. Before we went to break, I had just mentioned that the Republican convention that they have before each presidential election, I don't know why it's been referred to as the Republican or Democratic National Convention, because they both sides will have one. But President Trump just canceled the Republican National Convention. I don't know why it's called national, since it doesn't happen every year, or I've never heard of it happening unless it was an election year for the presidency. But in any case, it was just canceled. But at the same time, the president doesn't think it's okay to have a bunch of old white men go to a convention, which that's mostly who the Republicans are. There'd be some ladies there too, and some young people there too. It's like a huge rally that lasts for like 3 or 4 days or something. I don't know exactly, but that it's not, just one day. It's a several days event. But anyway, he doesn't think it's okay for these guys to have this convention, but he thinks it's okay for schools in the same area where this convention was going to be held to reopen and let kids in. And I don't know about you, but I think it's a sad day when the president is more worried about his political agenda than he are children going to school. And he says, the kids are resilient, the kids will be fine. That may be true. It might not kill a bunch of kids, talking about the coronavirus. But even if it kills one kid, that's too many. How would you like to be the parent of the one kid in school who was killed by the coronavirus? Or what about the teachers? I keep saying this. What about the teachers? Many of them are in their 50s, 60s, 70 years old. What about them? Don't they have the right to continue living? Because this opening up the schools is going to be a death sentence for some of the teachers, as well as some of the parents or grandparents that the kid, who's going to be fine, brings the coronavirus home to. They may be a carrier, asymptomatic carrier, and they bring it home to a grandparent and kill them, or infect the parent, and then the parent has to stay off work for 2 weeks in quarantine. So the Republican National Convention is canceled, but schools are expected to open back up within the next couple of months. And some of them have already committed to opening. I wish I had a private tutor, actually. That'd be so much better and easier. Of course, they're not going to, spend that kind of money to send a private tutor to everyone's house. But I wish I can afford the private tutor myself. And then I would get a private tutor for my kid. Because I'd like to send my kid back to school. I think I might. Because my kid doesn't have to bring coronavirus home to anybody except for me. And I do not have a compromised immune system. So it may not, affect me that badly. I'm not that old of a guy. So it may be okay for me. But a lot of people can't say that. So I don't know if it's the greatest idea nationwide. I understand we need to get the kids back in school and they're going to be behind, education wise, but being behind education wise is not nearly as bad as being dead. You really can't learn. It's very hard to pick up on things when you're dead. So, I understand our dilemma. But you got to keep in mind, some people are going to die and some people are going to be sick anyway when they catch the coronavirus and be out for weeks, and some longer, if depending on how bad it is. Seen this story the other day in the news where this guy was going on and on making videos and posting them online about how the coronavirus was a big hoax. The media blows things out of proportion, and blah 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 blah. He went on and on. He went on and on about it. And the only reason I seen this video is because this guy ended up catching the coronavirus and changing his mind. He caught the coronavirus, which is not funny, but he had it bad. Him and his wife both were in the hospital. This is not an old guy. This guy's in his 30s. Him and his wife both was in the hospital. His wife was on a ventilator, and this guy had it bad. So I see a lot of people online who downplay the coronavirus. And I just tell some people, I hope you don't end up catching it. I told this one young lady, hope you don't end up catching the coronavirus and dying. You know what I'm saying? Because she says a lot of dumb shit about the coronavirus. So, I hate, it seems like the people who talk the most crap are going to be the ones to end up catching it. So, I don't know. I'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. In other news, it seems like all news is about the coronavirus. The Washington Redskins, who are no longer the Redskins. Washington is now the Redskins are now going to be called the Washington Football Team, which is funny. That's why I'm laughing, because that is funny. The Washington Football Team. So they have officially decided to change their name, but they have not officially told us what that name will be.